They tell you to just be yourself. They tell you to just be confident. They tell you to just walk up to her and say hi. This is the advice of a world that has no idea how attraction actually works. A world that sells you a comfortable lie because the truth is too sharp, too uncomfortable. The truth is, being yourself is terrible advice if yourself is riddled with insecurity and neediness. The truth is, confidence isn't a switch you can just flip on. And the truth is, what you do after you say hi is what separates the men who ignite a woman's desire from the boys who trigger her cringe reflex. You felt it, that subtle shift in her body language, the polite but vacant smile, the way her eyes dart away, looking for an exit, for a friend to save her from the awkward, suffocating energy you're projecting. You think you're being charming, you think you're being nice, but what she feels is a demand. A desperate plea for validation wrapped in a clumsy compliment or a boring question. She doesn't feel desire. She feels secondhand embarrassment. She feels pity. And pity is the graveyard where attraction goes to die. All this time, you've been trying to add the right words, the perfect lines, when the real problem is you haven't subtracted the behaviors that are killing the interaction before it even starts. You've been trying to prove your worth instead of assuming it. You've been seeking her approval instead of making her seek yours. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to flirt in a way that creates magnetic tension and genuine respect, not disgust. That let's start with the most common myth, the one that's been shoved down your throat since you were a teenager. The myth of the perfect compliment. You're told that to show interest, you must praise her. You have beautiful eyes. I love your smile. That's a really nice dress. You deliver the line, expecting her to blush and melt into your arms. Instead, you see that flicker of nothing, a polite, rehearsed thank you as she turns away. You just became the 10th guy that night to say the exact same thing. What you think is a genuine, unique observation is, to her, a generic token from a man who wants something from her. You've put her on a pedestal, and in doing so, you've placed yourself at her feet. It's supplication. You're communicating. You are of high value, and I am of low value. Please, grant me a moment of your time. A high-value woman isn't impressed by praise she's heard 1,000 times. She's intrigued by a man who doesn't feel the need to praise her at all. A man whose validation isn't handed out like a free sample at the mall. The raw truth is that your approval, your attention, must be something she feels she has to earn, even just a little. Flirting isn't about making her feel worshipped. It's about making her feel seen, challenged, and slightly off balance. Instead of a direct compliment, you use a playful observation. You're not trying to flatter her. You're trying to create a fun, compelling narrative. You don't say, I like your style. You look at her unique outfit and say, with a slight smirk, you look like you're about to cause some trouble tonight. Am I wrong? You're not asking for her approval. You're making a bold statement. You've initiated a dynamic where she now has to respond, to defend herself, to play within your frame. The entire energy shifts from a boring interview to a scene in a movie where you are the director. This leads directly to the second cringeworthy mistake, the logical interrogation. This is what most guys default to when they realize compliments aren't working. They shift into interview mode, thinking that if they can just find a piece of common ground, a logical reason for a connection, then attraction will magically appear. So, where are you from? What do you do for work? What kind of music are you into? You're running down a checklist. Each question is a desperate attempt to keep the conversation from dying. And with each one, you can feel the life draining out of her. Her answers get shorter. Ohio. I'm in marketing. A little bit of everything. She's not being rude. She's bored. Her brain has switched off because you are engaging the most boring, analytical part of it. You're trying to build a resume of her life instead of creating an emotional experience with her in the present moment. Attraction is not logical. It's a primal, emotional response. You can't convince a woman to feel it by listing your shared interests. You have to make her feel it through your vibe, your energy, your unpredictability. The truth is that she doesn't care where you're from or what you do for a living, not in the first 30 seconds. She cares about how you make her feel. Does she feel safe but also a little thrilled? Does she feel understood but also curious? Does she feel like she can predict your next move? Or are you a fascinating mystery? Stop asking questions and start making statements. Instead of asking what she does, make a playful guess. Let me guess. You're a lawyer. You have that intense, analytical look in your eyes. It doesn't matter if you are right or wrong. If you're right, she's shocked and intrigued. If you're wrong, she'll laugh and correct you. And now you have a real conversation. A lawyer? No way. I'm a yoga teacher. Now you have something to play with. A yoga teacher? I knew it. A secret agent hiding in plain sight. All that calm on the outside, but plotting world domination on the inside. You're not gathering data. You're co-creating a fantasy, a fun, flirtatious bubble that separates the two of you from the rest of the boring, predictable world. You're creating an emotional spike, and that is the currency of real attraction. So what does this look like in practice? It looks like a man who is not afraid to lead. The final, and perhaps most visceral cringe, is watching a man who is terrified to make a move. Not just the big move like going for a kiss, but any move. The man who asks for permission with his body language. He wants to touch her arm, but his hand hovers for a split second too long. A tiny hesitation that screams, "Is this okay? Please don't reject me." His touch, when it finally lands, is weak, tentative, and apologetic. He might as well have asked, "Excuse me, ma'am, would you mind if I briefly place my hand here?" It's clinical, it's sterile, and it's a complete turnoff. A woman wants to be led by a man who is confident in his direction. This doesn't mean being aggressive or forceful. It means being decisive. It means your physical touch is an extension of your grounded presence, not a question you're asking her. The attractive man doesn't hesitate. As he tells a funny story, he'll naturally, briefly touch her on the forearm to emphasize a point. He doesn't look at her arm. He maintains eye contact. The touch is part of the communication, not a separate event. He's building up the courage to perform. When they need to move through a crowded room, he doesn't awkwardly point the way. He places a firm, confident hand on the small of her back and says, "Let's go this way." He guides her through the space. That single point of contact communicates everything. "I've got this. Follow me. You're safe with me." It's a primal signal of masculine leadership. Her nervous system registers this, not her logical brain. She doesn't think, "Oh, how confident." She simply feels a sense of relief and trust. She can relax into her feminine energy because she feels the stability of his masculine frame. You break the touch barrier not as a single, terrifying leap, but as a series of small, natural, and logical steps. You start with playful, non-sexual touch, and you calibrate based on her response. But you are always the one initiating. You are the one leading the dance. You are not waiting for her to give you a green light. You are the green light. The reason you can do this without fear is because you've embraced outcome independence. You're not touching her to get a reaction. You're touching her because it's a natural expression of your personality. If she pulls away, it doesn't shatter you. You just smoothly retract, read the signal, and continue the conversation unbothered. No awkwardness. No apology. You gave her a physical offer, and she declined. That's it. Your reality remains unshaken. The neediness is gone. And in its place is a powerful calm she can't help but be drawn to. Flirting is not a set of lines you memorize. It's not a formula you execute. It's an authentic expression of a man who is centered, playful, and completely unattached to the outcome. It's about subtracting the neediness, the fear, and the desperate desire for approval that you've been conditioned to feel. Stop complimenting her like every other guy. Stop interviewing her like you're conducting a survey. Stop agreeing with everything she says like you have no identity of your own. And for the love of God, stop asking for permission to be a man. Lead. Have an opinion. Tease her. Disagree with her. Touch her. Do it all from a place of fun, not from a place of need. Create an experience. Don't try to extract a result. Be the man who doesn't need her to like him for him to like himself. That is the man she'll never forget. Which brings us to the most insidious mistake of all, because it disguises itself as being a good guy. The desperate need to agree with everything she says. She says she likes a certain band, and you jump in with, "Oh my God, I love them too," even if you've barely heard of them. She says she hates the cold weather, and you nod emphatically, Yeah, it's the worst. I can't stand it. You think you're building rapport. You think you're showing her, look, we're the same. We should be together. What she feels is a man with no spine. A chameleon who will change his colors to match whatever she wants. A man without a center, without a strong sense of his own reality. She doesn't feel like she's met an equal. She feels like she's talking to a mirror. And you can't have sex with a mirror. Respect, and therefore attraction, is built on strength. A woman needs to feel the edges of your personality. She needs to know there's a boundary where she ends and you begin. If you agree with everything, you have no edges. You're just a blob of agreeableness. And there is nothing for her to grab onto, nothing for her to test herself against, nothing for her to be intrigued by. The brutal truth is that tension is a fundamental ingredient of flirtation. Not angry tension, but playful tension. Polarity, the friction between masculine and feminine energy. And you create this tension through playful disagreement. When she says, I love that new superhero movie, it was amazing, the agreeable man says, me too, it was so good. The attractive man, the man who understands polarity, smirks and says, amazing? It was a complete disaster. The plot holes were big enough to fly a spaceship through. We clearly can't be friends. He says it with a smile. The subtext is key. I'm not afraid to challenge you. I have my own opinions. And I'm confident enough to risk disagreeing with you because my validation doesn't depend on your approval. Suddenly, it's not a boring conversation anymore. It's a fun debate. She has to defend her position. She has to invest more energy. She's now trying, on a subconscious level, to win your approval. You've flipped the script. By being willing to risk rapport, you've created something far more valuable: respect. This all comes down to one core principle: outcome independence. The cringeworthy mistakes, the generic compliments, the logical questions, the desperate agreeableness, they all reek of one thing. You want something from her. Her number, her approval, her validation, a date, sex. You are attached to a specific outcome, and she can feel that attachment like a suffocating heat. It's pressure, and pressure kills desire. The man who truly understands flirting operates from a place of complete freedom. He isn't trying to get anything. He is there to give an experience. He's there to have fun, to create a moment of playful energy, to amuse himself. If she comes along for the ride, great. If she doesn't, his night is not ruined. His self-worth is not diminished. He is an oak tree, and her opinion is just the wind. He doesn't need her to laugh at his jokes to know that he's funny. He doesn't need her to agree with him to know that his opinions have value. This is the ultimate mindset shift. You're not a supplicant asking for a handout. You're the host of the party. You're the source of the vibe. You enter every interaction with the assumption that you are the prize, that your attention is the gift. This isn't arrogance. Arrogance is a mask for insecurity. This is genuine core confidence. It's a quiet knowing. You stop asking covert questions to see if she's good enough for you. You stop performing and trying to prove you're good enough for her. You just exist in your own reality, a reality that is fun and compelling and solid. And you playfully invite her to join you. When you're trying to impress, your energy is jagged, needy, and focused on the future. When you're focused on expressing yourself, your energy is calm, grounded, and rooted in the present moment. That is the vibe that makes a woman lean in. That is the energy she can't get enough of. Because in a world of men trying to get something from her, the man who needs nothing is the one she wants to give everything to.